See, today onwards, your histology class will start. That day, I have given a brief introduction what exactly you have to do during the histology class. Okay. So from today onwards, full-fledged histology class will start. So as I said, first there will be a demonstration, followed by we will go to the histology lab to see the slides. So today I bought some slides. First I will give the demonstration of epithelial tissue. Okay. Followed by we will go to the histo lab and we will see the slides. Okay. So the main aim of this practical class is to make you understand how does the tissue look like under microscope. Okay. In anatomy, we are dealing with the structure. Okay, we are dealing with the structure. So in dissection hall, in osteology, you are whatever you see, those are macroscopic. Microscopic things are also there. Okay, so with the help of histology, we will see the microscopic structure of the tissue. Now, before starting with the epithelial tissue, everyone you know that 4 basic tissues are there in our body. Okay, first is the epithelial tissue, the most abundant type of tissue of our body. Then connective tissue is there. Okay, what else? Yes, muscular tissue is there and nervous tissue is there. Okay, so these are the 4 basic tissues. Now all the basic tissues will be covered in histology class. Okay, where you have to see the microscopic structure. So we'll start with the epithelial tissue. Okay, so by definition, what is the epithelial tissue? Anyone? What if anyone asks you what is epithelial tissue? What will be your answer? So first of all, it is the most abundant tissue of our body. Okay, then it is highly cellular. Okay, now those cells, what it will do, it will cover the surface of your body, and both externally and internally. Along with that, it also covers the tubular part which is present in our body. Okay, so the cells which is covering the external and internal surface of our body, then the cells which are covering the tubular structure of our body, and the cells which are resting in a basement membrane, those are called as epithelial tissue. Okay, so by definition, as you can see, the surface of the body, both inner and outer. Okay, and in inner surface, it is covering the tubular structure within the body, which are covered by a layer of cells, and these are resting on a basement membrane. Those are called as epithelial tissue. Okay, next, in case of epithelial tissue, as I said, it is the most abundant tissue of our body. Now how it is oriented? So cells will be there, and those cells are resting in a basement membrane. Okay, and in epithelial tissue, the cells which are present, they are attached to each other. Attachment is there. Now it may be of different types. You are studying in physiology about the cell junction. You have studied or you will be studying, I don't know. Okay, but cell junction chapter is there in the physiology. So some type of junctions are there. Okay, but the cells are united. It's not like this that cells are separated from each other. Suppose यहाँ पे एक cell है, यहाँ पे ऐसा नहीं है. Cells are united to each other with the help of some cell junction. Okay, so that is one important feature, and the cells will be resting in a basement membrane. Okay. Next, you can see epithelial cell consists of layers which is covering the body surface. Okay, so those cells will form a layer which will cover the body surface. After that, a very important feature, that is avascular. Epithelial tissues are avascular. What is the meaning of avascular? No blood supply. Okay, then how it is getting nutrition? With the help of diffusion. तो जो epithelial layer रहता है, epithelial cell, okay, as I said, those cells are resting on a basement membrane. ठीक है, just below the basement membrane we are getting connective tissue where blood vessels are available. So through diffusion it is getting the nutrition. Okay. Next, epithelial cell, as I said, resting on a basement membrane. Then epithelial cell shows various types of junctions with adjacent cell. Okay, that means in between the cells, gaps are not there. Intercellular junctions are present. Depending on the types of epithelium, different types of gap junctions are present. Next, epithelial cell isolate the deeper structure from the surface environment. For example, skin is separating the deeper structure from the external environment. Okay, so these are some important features Next, I hope you have heard that epithelial cells shows some modification. जो epithelial cell होता है, okay, they show some modification. Now, what are those modifications? You can see, for example, microvilli are there, which are present in the small intestine. What is the requirement? Increase the surface area for absorption. So these microvilli, they are present in the epithelial cells only. Okay. If you take the example of respiratory tract, there you will be getting cilia. If you go to reproductory tract, especially in case of fallopian tube, there also you will be getting cilia. Okay. So those are the modification of the cell surface of epithelial tissue. Okay, for different purposes. Next, epithelial cells undergo mitosis and can regenerate the damaged portion. So these are some important features of the epithelial tissue. Okay. Next, what will be the functions of epithelial tissue? So we have seen the features of the epithelial tissue. Okay. Now, what will be the important functions of epithelial tissue? First of all, you can see protection. तो कैसे प्रोटेक्शन प्रोवाइड करता है? हाउ द प्रोटेक्शन इज प्रोवाइडेड? टेक द एग्जांपल ऑफ स्किन. टेक द एग्जांपल ऑफ स्किन. Okay, in skin also we are getting the epithelial tissue. Okay, so that is protecting other organs or other structures which are situated deep, okay, to the skin. Next, it is also helping in formation of barrier. Now this is very important. Whenever you will be studying the systemic anatomy, at that time you will come to know about the barriers. Okay, a very famous barrier is there in our body, that is called BBB, blood-brain barrier. Blood-brain barrier. Okay. Now there also will be epithelial tissues are there. Now why this barrier is important? So this barrier will allow the substance which is required. Unnecessary substances are not allowed to pass through the barrier. Okay. For example, whenever we are eating any drug, when it goes to the body, when it after metabolization is taking place, it is going to the blood. Now all the drugs don't have the capability to cross the blood-brain barrier. Okay, because if it is not crossing the blood-brain barrier, it can't go and act on the central nervous system. Okay, all the drugs are to go and act on the central nervous system. There are some drugs specifically made which can overcome the blood-brain barrier. They can go and act on central nervous system. Okay, so that is the importance of the barrier. Not only in brain, in other organs also barriers are present. Okay, just I have given one example. So that barrier is also formed by epithelial tissue. Okay, one component. Other components are also there. Next, absorption. So already I have given an example. Best example is in your intestine. So you had lunch. Okay, you know that whenever you are eating something through stomach, it goes to the intestine. Okay, final digestion is completed and then absorption is taking place. So that is also done by the modification of the epithelial tissue. Okay, so that is one important function of the epithelial tissue, absorption. Next, other functions are also there. Secretory function. So whenever you are eating something, the food through esophagus goes to the stomach. इसके बाद stomach से acid secrete होता है. Stomach में भी enzymes है, those are secreted. So for that also specialized epithelial cells are there. Okay, so that cell, the secretion helps in digestion. So that is the secretory part. Next, you can see sensory perception. Whenever you are eating something, जो tongue है, tongue का जो mucosa है, where the epithelial cells are there, some specialized epithelial cells are present. Okay, where nerve endings are present and they act as taste buds, so that you can feel the taste. So they are also again modification of the epithelial cells. Okay, so these are some important functions of the epithelial cells. Okay, so we have seen what is epithelial tissue, then we have seen the features of the epithelial tissue, and then the important functions of the epithelial tissue. Next, depending on the location, the size and shape of the epithelial tissue is different. Okay, depending on the location, कहाँ पे है epithelial tissue, based on that the size and shape of the epithelial tissue differs. Okay, so overall if you see, only 3 types of epithelial cells are there, means the shape. So what are those 3 shapes? You can see squamous, or also called as flat, then cuboidal, or also called as cube shaped, columnar means tall shaped cells. Okay, these are three basic types of epithelial cells based on the shape. Okay, next you can see the surfaces of the epithelial cell. So these are the epithelial cells. Okay, now here you can see this is the basement membrane. Three surfaces are there. This is the apical surface. Okay, this is the lateral surface where one cell is attached to the another cell, and this is the basal surface. Now this basal surface will attach to the basement membrane. Okay, now I have mentioned that there are some modifications seen. Okay, mostly the modifications are seen on the apical surface. Mostly, not all. There are some modifications. For example, basolateral folds are there, which are not present in the apical surface. They are present laterally. Okay, but most of the modifications are present over here. Okay, for example, microvilli is there, cilia is there, stereocilia is there. Okay, these are the different types of cell modification. Okay, कौन सा surface में रहता है? Apical surface में रहता है. Next, this is the classification of the epithelial tissue. Okay, so different types of epithelial tissues are there in our body. Now we must know the classification. Okay, why we have to know the classification? Because based on that you can understand where will be the location of that particular epithelial tissue. Okay, that's why classification is required. How the classification is done? Any idea? Always keep that in mind. Classification is done based on something. No. No. It is based on whether it is a single layer of cell or multiple layer of cell. Okay. The classification is done based on whether it is having single layer of cell or multiple layer of cell. इसका मतलब क्या है? What is the meaning of that? You take one basement membrane. Okay. Suppose one basement membrane is there. Okay. On that basement membrane, one layer of cell is present. And suppose another basement membrane is there. Okay. Based on this, the classification is done. So this is one basement membrane. Only one layer of cells are present. Okay. Now here, one basement membrane, multiple layers of cells are present. Okay. Based on that, the classification is done. So what is that? It is simple epithelium and stratified epithelium. Okay. Simple का मतलब है single layer of cell. So this is only one layer. That's why it is called as simple. This is multiple or also called as stratified. Okay. Now another classification is there in between these two, and that is called as pseudostratified. What is the meaning of pseudo? False. Okay. So that's why I have written in between. So how the classification is done? Based on layers of cell on the basement membrane. अगर single layer है, then it is called as simple. Multiple layer है, then it is called as stratified. दोनों के बीच में जो है, that is called as pseudostratified. Okay. तो pseudostratified का मतलब क्या है? Falsely multiple layer. Actually, this is single layer. But when you will see, it will appear as multiple layer. That's why it is called as pseudostratified. ठीक है? Now come back to the classification. So see, simple epithelium are also called as single layer thick. Okay, in most of the book I have seen it is there as single layer thick. That means एक ही layer रहता है. Okay, on a basement membrane. So based on that, three different types are there: simple squamous, simple cuboidal, and simple columnar epithelium. Next, pseudostratified दोनों के बीच में है. Already I have told you what is pseudostratified. Next, in the stratified, also called as multiple layer. So here you are getting stratified squamous epithelium. But in stratified squamous, again two types are there. Okay, what are these two types? Keratinized squamous epithelium and non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. ओके, तो जो केराटिनाइज्ड है मतलब केराटोहाइलिन ग्रेन्यूल्स और केराटिन प्रोटीन इज प्रेजेंट. ओके, नॉन केराटिनाइज्ड मीन्स द केराटोहाइलिन ग्रेन्यूल्स आर एब्सेंट. ओके, तो इसमें डिफरेंस कैसे होगा, हाउ यू विल डिफरेंशिएट? तो बेस्ट वे इज व्हेन यू विल सी द surface cell, multiple layer means multiple layers of cells will be there, not single layer. तो जो surface layer होगा, in that you will not see the cellular structure. For example, nucleus will not be seen. Instead of that, it will be filled by keratin protein. So that is the keratinized epithelium, stratified squamous epithelium. Non-keratinized में क्या होगा? Multiple layer, एकदम basement से लेके surface layer तक cells दिखाई देगा along with the nucleus. Keratin protein नहीं रहेगा. So that is the non-keratinized. This is how you can differentiate, you can identify. Okay. Don't worry, I will show you the image also. Next, stratified cuboidal is there and stratified columnar is also there. Okay. Now, in stratified, another special type of epithelium is there. In stratified only, a special type of epithelium is there, and that is called as transitional epithelium. Anyone have you heard about this transitional epithelium? It is a specialized stratified epithelium. इसका मतलब क्या है? Stratified का मतलब है it is multiple layer. Why it is specialized? Because it is only present in the urinary tract. It is only present in the urinary tract. That's why it is also called as urothelium. Urothelium. U-R-O. Uro. T-H-E-L-I-U-M. Urothelium. ठीक है? तो sometime question may asked as write in detail about urothelium, but you have studied transitional epithelium. Don't get confused, both are same. ठीक है, तो whenever you are writing transitional epithelium, give a slash and then write urothelium. ठीक है, so it is a specialized stratified epithelium, but where it is present? It is present in the urinary tract. So I hope the classification is clear. Now after classification we will go to each and every type of epithelium and then we have to study. So what exactly you have to study over here? What exactly you have to study? For example, first we will see the simple squamous epithelium. ठीक है, तो in simple squamous epithelium what you have to know, first of all, what is the shape of the cell? Okay, what is the position of the nucleus? Okay, then what is the function and what is the location? Same thing will be repeated for each and every type. Okay, these are the points you must know about each and every epithelial tissue. ठीक है, तो in case of simple squamous epithelium, first of all, if you see the structure, single layer of flattened cells are there. Single layer of cell will be there resting on the basement membrane. Okay, flattened cells are present. Now mostly the function is absorption and filtration. Okay, now what is the location? You can see on the alveoli of the lung. Okay, alveoli of the lung, then inside the blood vessel. Okay, these cells are present. Now if you want to see the details, okay, so as you can see, if you the cytoplasm of the cell, so epithelial tissue, simple squamous epithelium, that means it is cells are present. So inside the cell cytoplasm will be there. Okay, so forms a thin layer. Now the nuclei which is present, that will produce a bulging on the cell. Okay, the nuclei which is there, it will produce a bulging on the cell. So when you will see that the because of the nucleus a bulging is produced. That is a very important identifying feature of the simple squamous epithelium. Okay, and the cell will be having a large surface area. Next, if you see the surface view means अगर ऊपर से अगर देखा, suppose epithelial cells is there, simple squamous, if you see from above, then what you will see, they have polygonal outlines interlock with those of the adjoining cell. Next, when you see those cells under EM study or ultrastructure, then you will see that they are having occluding junction. Okay, they are having occluding junction with each other. Next, now there are some names of the simple squamous epithelium, though they are present in different areas, that's why names are also different, and those are very important because when you will study the systemic anatomy, at that time it is required. For example, you can see, I hope you have heard about pericardium, the outer covering of the heart. Yes. Then anyone, have you heard about the peritoneum? No, I don't think so. You have heard about peritoneum. It is present in the abdomen. Okay, so those coverings, okay, they are lined by this simple squamous epithelium. Okay, and in that case, it is called as mesothelium. Pleura is also there, which is the outer covering of lung. Okay, तो उसमें simple squamous epithelium ही रहता है. Though they are present in those areas, that's why it is called as mesothelium. Next, you can see the inside of the heart is also lined by simple squamous epithelium. That's why it is called as endocardium. Next, if you see blood vessel, कोई भी blood vessel हो, artery हो, vein हो, okay, inside the artery or vein, I am talking about the lumen of the artery or vein, that is also lined by simple squamous epithelium, and it is called as endothelium. See, it is called as endothelium. Okay. So why I am mentioning, because when we will study the artery, when you study the vein, at that time I will say that endothelium. I will not say simple squamous epithelium. So you have to understand, endothelium matlab it is simple squamous epithelium, like this. Now here you can see the diagram. So this is the diagram of simple squamous epithelium. So this is the schematic diagram. Okay. This is the surface view. ऊपर से जब देखते हैं, this is the surface view. You can see it looks like polygon shape. Now this is the sectional view. Okay. Now this is how it will appear under microscope. When you will focus the slide, this is how it will appear under microscope. So I'll request everyone to see the diagram carefully. ठीक है? तो ये देखो, the cell, the surface is having large surface. The cells of simple squamous epithelium large surface. Okay, the amount of cytoplasm is very less. Okay, height of the cell is also very less, and the presence of the nucleus is forming a bulge on the cell. You can see ये nucleus है. Because of the presence of the nucleus, a bulge is formed. Can you see the bulge? Yes. So that is a important identifying feature of the simple squamous epithelium. And what will be the location? So I have told you the location. Okay. Yes, it is present inside the blood vessel. It is present in the alveoli of the lung. Okay. So large surface area है. So the areas where large surface area is required, in those areas this type of cells are present. Okay. Next, simple cuboidal epithelium. So the name suggests cuboidal epithelium means it is composed of single layer of cube-shaped cells. Okay, single layer of cube-shaped cell where the height and the width of the cells are almost equal. Height and width of the cells are almost equal. Next, if you see the nucleus, centrally placed nucleus. Okay. So nuclei of the cuboidal cells are rounded, placed at the center of the cell, as the width and the height of the cells are almost equal. Okay. Now, if you see the surface view, cells are polygonal or hexagonal. Okay, and the cytoplasm, cuboidal cells contain eosinophilic cytoplasm. Okay, eosinophilic appearance will be there of the cytoplasm. Next, what will be the locations where these cuboidal epithelium are present? Now you can see thyroid follicles, very important. Okay, when you will see the thyroid gland under microscope, you will see so many follicles are there. So inside the follicles, mostly you will see the cuboidal epithelium. Okay, and today I will show you the slide of thyroid gland. Okay, from there only you have to identify the simple cuboidal epithelium. Other places are also there, smaller ducts of exocrine glands, epithelium covering the ovary. These are also made up of simple cuboidal epithelium. Next, what will be the functions? Functions involved in absorption and excretion, along with that synthesis, secretion of substances. Now here you can see the simple cuboidal epithelium. ये देखो ऐसे दिखाई देता है. So this is the schematic diagram. Okay, where you can see the length and the width of the cells are almost equal. And what is the location of the nucleus? Centrally placed. ठीक है. So you can see the lining epithelium of the thyroid follicle. So see, these are the follicle. This is one follicle. This is one follicle. This is one follicle. Okay. Inside the follicle, these are the cuboidal epithelium. These are the cuboidal cells. Okay. Now here you can see the germinal epithelium of the ovary. It is also made up of simple cuboidal epithelium. Okay. And this is the original image. Means when you will see the simple cuboidal epithelium under microscope, high power. Okay. Then it will appear like this. Whatever you see in schematic diagram and the actual image, उसमें बहुत difference होता है. It's not that simple. यहाँ पे देखो कैसे दिखाई दे रहा है. Looking very nice. And see this one. Okay. So lot of differences are there. So unless and until you see under microscope, okay, you will not understand. Next is the simple columnar epithelium. So here what happens? It is made up of simple means single layer of columnar cell, where height of the cell is more as compared to the width of the cell. Okay. Next, the nucleus is not present at the center. Nucleus is present at the basement, near the basement of the cell or near the basement membrane. That is the difference. Okay. Next, staining differences are also there. Columnar cell takes stain according to the presence of cell organelles. Okay. Now, apical part of the cell, that means the upper part of the cell, if you see, it is well developed because of the Golgi apparatus, secretory granules, and it will take the eosin. So that's why what will be the appearance? Pink in color. And basal part of the cell, okay, it will take the hematoxylin stain and it will appear violet or purple in color. That is the difference between the staining of the columnar cell. Okay. Next, foamy appearance is also there. Now, why foamy appearance is there? Foamy appearance क्यों होता है? Because of the mucous cells. तो अगर सेल के अंदर mucus है during the time of xylene wash, that day we have discussed about the steps of tissue processing. Okay. So whenever the xylene wash is given, the mucus is washed away. So if nothing is there, it will not take the stain. That's why empty appearance is there or foamy appearance is there. Okay, that can also be seen mostly in large intestine. Whenever you will see the slide of large intestine, at that time you will see so many empty spaces are there in between the epithelial cell. तो क्यों है? Because of the mucus that were present. Okay. Next, nuclei of the columnar cells are oval and they are placed at the basal region of the cells. In simple columnar epithelium, some modifications are also there. For example, ciliated columnar epithelium. Okay, ciliated columnar epithelium is there, and in some cases, microvilli are also present. Okay, these are some surface modification of the simple columnar epithelium. These are present. Okay. Now, what is the function? As you can see, secretory functions, absorptive function. Okay, ciliary beads. Which is present especially in case of fallopian tube. It helps in the movement of the ovum. That's why these surface modifications are required. Okay. Now here you can see the simple columnar epithelium. This is the schematic diagram. See the height of the cell. Okay, it is tall, but the width of the cells are less. And see the nucleus. It is situated near the basal part of the cell. Okay, these are some important features of the simple columnar epithelium. When you will see those cells under microscope, देखो microscope के नीचे almost cells will look like similar. So you have to identify the feature. You have to know the feature. Then only you can understand the difference. Or else सब एक जैसा दिखाई देगा. Okay. Now here you can see simple columnar epithelium cell of the fallopian tube, where you can see the cilia can be seen. ये देखो. This is the surface modification. Now here simple columnar epithelium of the stomach. Here you can see in case of stomach. Now why I am showing you this? ये देखो जो upper part of the cell है, apical part of the cell and the basal part of the cell, the staining differences can be seen. Here also you can see the difference. Okay, so this is exactly how it look like under microscope, simple columnar epithelium. Okay. Okay, next is the pseudostratified epithelium. So what is the meaning of pseudostratified? Falsely stratified. Now why it is called as pseudostratified? Any idea? I'll show you the diagram. Here you can see the diagram, schematic diagram. Why falsely stratified? देखो single layer of cell है, as you can see in the diagram. This is the basement membrane. This is single layer of cell. Here also you can see single layer of cell. But why it appears stratified? See this one, it appears stratified because here the size of the cells are not equal. Previously in case of columnar and cuboidal, अगर columnar है cuboidal है, सभी cell का जो shape है, size है, वो same रहता है. But here it is not same. Shape and size of the cells differ. Then the position of the nucleus is not uniform. In some cases, position of the nucleus is apical part. In some cases, it is at the basal part. That's why it appears multiple layer. It appears as multiple layer. Okay, for that it is called as pseudostratified epithelium. Now, what is the location? The location is respiratory tract. In the respiratory tract, mainly in case of trachea. So I got a slide of trachea also. There I will show you the pseudostratified columnar epithelium, and along with that I will show you the cilia also. It comes with some modification. Okay, so that is all about the single layer. After single layer, what is the next? Stratified. Stratified means multiple layer. Means more than one layer of cells will be there. Okay. So first in the stratified. Before going to the stratified, here you can see the classification of the stratified epithelium. Okay. In the classification, first you can see stratified squamous epithelium. Squamous में भी दो type होता है, keratinized and non-keratinized. Difference क्या है? Yes, keratin protein is present and एक में keratin protein absent रहता है. So if the keratin protein is present, then you will not see the cellular component of the surface cell because it is filled by keratin. Non-keratinized में you can see the cellular components. Okay, that is the difference. Okay, along with that you can see the examples are also different. Next, stratified cuboidal and stratified columnar is also there. Okay, and what about the special one? What is it? Specialized stratified epithelium, that is called as transitional epithelium or urothelium. Now in case of stratified squamous keratinized, several layers of cells are there. Previously I have mentioned that one basement membrane and on that single layer of cells are there. Cell is there. But here you can see consists of several layers of cells. Okay, multiple layers of cells are there. Now you must know how the cells are arranged. Okay. So basal layer consists of cuboidal cell or columnar cells which will rest on the basal laminar basement membrane. Okay, next basal cell act as a stem cell. They will divide and migrate whenever the surface cells are damaged or destroyed. Next, the cells above the basal layer gradually decrease in size and become flat. Okay, तो जो base में जो cells रहता है mainly they are cuboidal or columnar in their nature, and as you go above on the surface the cells become flattened. That is how the arrangement is done. Okay. Now based on the keratinization, it is of two types, keratinized and non-keratinized epithelium. Now here you can see keratinized and non-keratinized epithelium. So ये देखो, this is non-keratinized stratified squamous and this is keratinized. Can you see the difference? So first of all, what is this? This is the basement membrane. Here also you can see this is the basement membrane. Now multiple layers of cells can be seen. ठीक है, ये देखो multiple layers of cells can be seen. Here also multiple layers of cells can be seen, and they are having unique arrangement. Now if you go to the surface, here also you can see all the cellular components. For example, you can see the nucleus. But if you go over here, you can't see the cellular components. Why? Because it is filled with keratin protein. So the cells are dead in that particular surface. Okay, so that is the difference between the keratinized and non-keratinized. So this is the schematic diagram and this is the microscopic image. Okay, so here you can see multiple layers are there. So when you will see this under microscope, what to see? First of all, you have to identify the basement membrane. above the basement membrane, you have to see how the nuclei are arranged. Okay, and then go on the surface. You have to check whether the cellular organelles or for example nucleus can be seen or not. अगर nucleus दिखाई देता है on the surface, that means it is non-keratinized. अगर नहीं दिखाई दे रहा है, that means it is keratinized, where you can see the keratin protein is present. Okay, this is how the differentiation can be done. Now this is the function, protects the underlying structure and act as a barrier against pathogenic organism. Okay, for example, best example is the skin. So another diagram I have added so that you will not get confused between the non-keratinized and keratinized. ये देखो keratin layer. Can you see? Next is the stratified cuboidal and stratified columnar. Okay. Now in case of stratified cuboidal, multiple layers of cuboidal cells are there. Okay. More than 2 layers of cuboidal cells are present. Now here superficial cells are cuboidal and the surface cells are also cuboidal. Both the layers are cuboidal in nature. Now what is the function? Ducts of the sweat gland, salivary gland, sebaceous glands, etc. These are the location where the stratified cuboidal epithelium are present. Okay. Next, stratified columnar. Here also 2 layered of thick epithelial cells are present. Superficial layer are columnar. Okay. Now location you can see epithelial lining of ducts of the salivary glands, fornix of the conjunctiva, etc. So see, this is the stratified cuboidal epithelium. This is the stratified columnar epithelium. Okay. Very simple. And this you will see only with the help of the ducts of the larger glands. Salivary glands का multiple ducts होता है. So जो large duct है, those are having this type of arrangement. Now lastly, the transitional epithelium, or also called as urothelium. Okay. Why? Because it is a specialized epithelium. Though it is multiple layer, but it is a specialized epithelium. Okay. 4 to 6 layers of cells are present. 4 to 6 layers of cells are present in that particular epithelium. Okay. Now if you see the arrangement, first of all, basement membrane, or you can say the basal lamina is there. Okay. On the basal lamina, multiple layers of cells are there. Now when you will go to the surface, at that time cells are not flattened. They are having a specialized shape, and those are called as umbrella shaped cells. जो surface cells होता है, in case of transitional epithelium, they are umbrella shaped. Okay. And another important speciality is those cells can be stretched. Okay, without losing the integrity. These cells can be stretched. Now when it is stretched, after that if it is relaxed, it will not lose its integrity. Okay. So these are some important feature. Next, another important feature is जो surface cell होता है, in that a specialized glycoprotein coating is there. Glycoprotein का एक coat रहता है जो surface cell से. क्यों रहता है? So that the toxic substance which is present in the urine cannot diffuse and go back into the circulation. I'll give an example. Kidney filters the blood. After that, the urine which is formed, it will pass through the ureter. After that, where it goes? It goes to the urinary bladder. Urinary bladder में store रहता है temporarily. After that, when the urinary bladder distend, we feel to micturate. Now, when it is storing inside the urinary bladder, at that time the concentration of the urine is more inside the urinary bladder. The urinary bladder is a muscular bag. It is having blood vessels. So through diffusion, it can go back into the blood system, blood vessel. But it is prevented. How it is prevented? With the help of the transitional epithelium. उसका जो surface है, उसमें एक specialized glycoprotein रहता है. Okay. Now that glycoprotein is protecting that. So these are some specialized features, and they are only present in the urinary system. That's why it is called as urothelium. So here you can see depends on the stretching. If the bladder is distended, the transitional epithelium 2 to 3 layer cells can be seen. When the bladder is empty, 5 to 6 layer of cells can be seen. That means it can be stretched heavily without getting deformed. That is one important feature. Okay. Now cells become flattened on stretching due to distension of the bladder. On relaxation, it becomes cuboidal or polygonal. These are some features of the cells present in the transitional epithelium. Okay. Next, you can see the basal cells are cuboidal, which are rest on basal lamina. Then upper cells are polygonal and superficial cells are umbrella shaped. These are the arrangement of the cells. First you can see cuboidal, then polygonal, and then umbrella shaped. Next, one plaque is there which is made up of glycoprotein, and this is called as uroplakin, which is covering the surface epithelium. Okay. Now here you can see the schematic diagram. Now in the schematic diagram you can see the several layers of cells can be seen. Okay, now this is the superficial layer. Now here the cells are umbrella shaped. Okay, here the cells are umbrella shaped. Next, now on the surface some cells are there which are binucleated also. मतलब दो न्यूक्लियर रहता है. In this type of epithelium, जो surface में cells होता है, they are umbrella shaped and sometimes they are having two nuclei. That's why they are binucleated. These are some specialized features of the transitional epithelium. Okay. Next, you can see the transitional epithelium where they are present. Urinary tract, not entire urinary tract, most of the urinary tract transitional epithelium are present. Okay. Now this is how it appears. Another diagram is there. Yeah. So this is the transitional epithelium. Okay. So how will identify the transitional epithelium? Okay. Now suppose in a slide, stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium is there and transitional epithelium is there in another slide. How you will differentiate? In non-keratinized superficial layer में cells present है. No, non-keratinized. केराटिन नहीं रहेगा तो सेल्स रहेगा, इसमें भी सेल्स रहेगा. हाउ विल डिफरेंशिएट? यस, ऑलवेज बाइन्यूक्लिएटेड, नॉट देयर समटाइम. इसमें हाँ, तो इसमें क्या है, जो सरफेस सेल्स है दोज आर अम्ब्रेला शेपेड रहेगा, और उसमें क्या रहेगा, flattened cells will be there. So this is the way you have to identify. Okay. Now lastly, can you tell me how the basal lamina is made up of? The basal lamina which is there, it is made up of what? This is the last part. Here you can see the basement membrane or the basal lamina. Okay, first of all, it is a thin delicate membrane which is made up of protein fibers, okay, and mucopolysaccharide. These are present. उसमें सेलुलर कंपोनेंट नहीं रहता है. जो बेसल लेमिना होता है उसमें सेलुलर कंपोनेंट नहीं रहता है. ओके, तो व्हाट इज प्रेजेंट? इंस्टेड ऑफ दैट प्रोटीन फाइबर्स आर देयर एंड म्यूकोपोलिसैकेराइड्स आर प्रेजेंट. ओके, कॉम्प्लेक्स मोलिक्यूल्स आर प्रेजेंट. नेक्स्ट, इफ यू सी, इट इज सेपरेटिंग द एपिथेलियम फ्रॉम द अंडरलाइंग कनेक्टिव टिश्यू. तो ऊपर एपिथेलियल टिश्यू, नीचे कनेक्टिव टिश्यू, दोनों को सेपरेट करता है दिस बेसल लेमिना. ओके. Now another important point related to the basal lamina is when we use H&E staining, at that time you cannot see the entire basal lamina. Okay, you can't see the basal lamina properly. For that a special type of stain is required. Okay, that is called SPAS method, periodic acid skiff method. This is a specialized staining method which is used, okay, to see the basal structure of the basal lamina. Okay. Now if you see the basal lamina, mainly it is having two layers, the lamina lucida and lamina densa. Okay. Now this lamina lucida and lamina densa, first of all, if you see, they do not show any feature, consist of only type 4 collagen fibrils and amorphous matrix. This is present at the lamina lucida, and if you see the lamina densa, it is made up of type 4 collagen fibrils. Now collagen fibers, I don't think so you have studied, that's why I'm not giving much stress. Okay, we'll be discussing about the collagen fibers, collagen fibrils on connective tissue chapter, and along with that amorphous matrix also. Okay, just keep that in mind. These things are present which are forming the basal lamina. Okay, next reticular lamina is also there. Now this is deeper and lies adjacent to the connective tissue. मतलब दो layer रहता है basal lamina का. तो जो reticular lamina है, this is the deeper layer. Now here you will be getting the reticular fibers and type 7 anchoring collagen fibers. Now here is the diagram. Here you can see this is the structure of the basal lamina. Okay. So lamina lucida is there, which is adjacent to the cell. In between we are getting the lamina densa, and the deepest layer is the reticular lamina. Now this reticular lamina is adjacent to the connective tissue. Okay. So this is the structure of basal lamina. Now basal lamina ka structure, when it will get clear, as I said, we have to study the collagen fibers, structure of collagen fibers and amorphous matrix. Then only it will get clear. Okay. So that is all about the epithelial tissue. Now we'll go to lab and then we'll see the slide. और एकदम सरफेस में देखो सेल्स दिखाई नहीं दे रहे, एक पिंक कलर का ऐसा एक शेड ऊपर दिख गया. दिस इज द केराटिन